I suggest we beam a section aboard for analysis.
Make it so, number one.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another week of the review. It's the OSG Sports College Football Podcast featuring us, the online sports guys. Right now, you got the three of us, me, Brother Wilkie, Brother John. We're going to talk a little bit of college football. A little later in the show, Brother Marty's going to drop in with John to talk about for lack of a better way to put it, the discount game of the week.
Football on a budget, brother. That's what we
do. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Brother J-Dub is on the road this week. Hopefully he will be back with us next week. And guys, I'm finally joining you actually for the recording this time instead of recording from an airport like I did last week.
That was funny though.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very little. Anyway, enough with the puns, on with the show. Guys, it was an interesting week in college football. And before we get into the scores, I want to bring this up to you because just on the surface, we always want to look for a team that's the dominant number one team in college football. But at least to me right now, it doesn't look like that team exists. What do you guys think about that?
Take it, Wilkie.
Oh, thank you. I get to be leadoff hitter, huh? No, there's not a dominant number one team out there yet. I think what we're seeing is some of the effects of the transfer portal as teams that are getting better a little quickly, and the talent is kind of evening out throughout college football. But yes, there is a dominant number one team, but there is a number one team out there, and it's Georgia, because they haven't been knocked off their pedestal yet. They're two-time defending national champions. As long as they keep winning, and it doesn't matter how much they win because they're getting everybody's A game. But to me, they're clearly the top team in the country right now until someone can knock them off.
As Ric Flair once said, to beat a man, you gotta beat the man.
And ain't nobody done it. And whether you like it, whether you don't, it's the best thing going today. So no, until Georgia loses, they should be number one in the country. Are they dominant? No. When we get into the games, we'll talk about that, because then you've got to look at Michigan. Michigan got to play Nebraska. Ooh, you don't really get the chance to be, you got to be dominant against Nebraska. Congratulations. And then, Texas against a Kansas team that didn't have their starting quarterback. Obviously, folks are looking at that margin of 26 and going, oh, Texas beat Kansas, but Kansas didn't have their number one quarterback. And then obviously you look at, TOSU and what they're doing right now. They're at 4-0. So is anybody dominant? No. I think it's good for college football that you don't have a dominant number one. And yes, I did just use air quotes for those that are just listening. But I think it's good for the game when you've got open competition at the top where everybody is sitting there and changing their bowl projections every week about who's going to make the Final Four, Phil.
Yeah, that does kind of make it a little bit more fun that way when you don't really know who's going to be there, because one of the things, at least in my mind, that's kind of been a detriment to the game over the last several years is it's always been some derivative of Georgia, Ohio State, Alabama, and pick a fourth team here in the college football playoff. And if you know that going into the season, why bother to play the season? And this year, I don't know necessarily that that's going to happen. Wilkie,
well, I mean, part of the thing about trying to figure out who the top team in the country is to me, is the eye test. And if you're going to go by the eye test, Georgia and Texas, to me, passed that eye test as far as kind of separating themselves. But then those are my eyes. Your eyes could see it differently, Phil and John. But no one has clearly separated themselves from the pack. But if you go by the eye test, to me, Georgia and Texas are pretty stout, pretty complete.
Texas.
No, yeah, I'm right there with you. I think that you look at right now, it's Georgia, it's Texas, like it's Michigan's Michigan. You got Captain Khaki doing his thing, and it's like J.G. McCarthy, and it seems very, very methodical, pedestrian, whatever word you want to use, depending on your point of view where Michigan is concerned. But right now, like I said, I'm with you, Wilkie. I think it's Georgia and Texas, but can they navigate their conference schedules
Yeah.
and get to the point where you would anticipate them probably pairing up in in a final? Because if it is, right now you're looking at Georgia as the one, and this is from the AP poll that just came back out. So it'd be Georgia and Ohio State in theory in a semifinal, and then Texas and Michigan. I think Texas would beat Michigan in a semifinal right now, but like I said, we're only 5 games into this whole thing. And I think that Georgia would handle Ohio State. And I'm glad that Marty's not here to hear me say that, because I'm sure he would yell and rant and rave, and he'd probably jump through the screen and kill me.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
He
So
has that power.
yes, he does. And so I think that it would end up being a Georgia-Texas final. And it goes back to Wilkie, your eye test. And right now, I think those are the top 2 teams.
It'll be interesting. Guys, why don't we go ahead and talk about how we got to that point by going through some of the games over this past weekend. And we might as well start with a game that John was at in person on Saturday at Jordan-Hare Stadium, where the Georgia Bulldogs did win 27-20 over the Auburn Tigers, but it was a little bit more of a battle than most people expected.
Yeah. Legitimately, I think, and like I said, I have no bearing of any knowledge of this whatsoever. I legitimately think that what Kirby Smart does in the first quarter of games is he scripts plays, sticks to the script unless something happens, and then adjusts from what he sees from the other team's offensive and defensive play in the first quarter, and that's how he navigates the other 3 quarters. I think that in the first quarter, there was a miss that Carson Beck had on Oscar Delp down the seam. I think that if that had gone for a long chunk play and possibly a touchdown, I think game state might have been a little different. But you've got to tip your hat to what you saw from the Auburn defense on that day, except in the fourth quarter, because we were reinforced with the notion that Brock Bowers is a freak. And that's not breaking news or anything. We don't need a breaking news sounder in all of this, but the fact that he had 121 yards of receiving in the fourth quarter alone, and why he wasn't bracketed by the Auburn defense, I have no idea. There were too many drag routes, too many seam routes, too many times he would settle into a zone, and everyone's behind him to keep him from breaking the big play, which he would eventually end up doing with less than 3 minutes to go anyway for your game-winning score.
Yeah, that one-handed catch he made was pretty darn impressive.
Yeah, I know, and it got called back for a penalty. But yeah, Brock Bowers is a freak. But there are other issues that are there. I mean, you look at what Georgia did on third down in the game compared to what Auburn did on third down. Big statistic for me in this one is that third down efficiency. Georgia on the day, 8 of 13 on third down. I'd love to know how many yards they got on third down conversions on those 8 conversions they had. Auburn started out 0 for 6, finished 2 for 12 on the day. And you look at some of the other numbers that are attached to it. I think that Georgia was not planning for Peyton Thorne to tuck and run, because that was one of the most surprising things that you got to see was a little RPO and Peyton Thorne breaking off the long run that contributed for, 60 something of the 219 they had on the day. They contained the rest of that running game. And Peyton Thorne, I'm going to say it, I'm going to continue to say it. Peyton Thorne right now is not an SEC quarterback. 10 of 19 on the day, 82 yards. So that is, all right, so we're going to do math here. 4 yards per attempt, 4.3 per attempt on the day, and 8.2 per completion. Robbie Ashford threw it once, but Robbie Ashford was in there to run the football. And I look at Peyton Thorne right now, Wilkie, and I go, he is not an SEC quarterback. I don't know. I mean, you look at the numbers from what he did in the B1G, good for you. That was against B1G competition. This is entirely different here, and Peyton Thorne is not SEC ready.
I can see that. I think we need to start the campaign for Brock Bowers on the Heisman, because he had a coming out party against Auburn, and I thought Auburn gave Georgia its best. They played their best game against Georgia because of the defending national champions. But Brock Bowers was definitely the difference to me. yeah, his receiving was pretty impressive, especially down the fourth quarter. He was the key. He was the guy, but he threw some nice blocks too during the first half that sprung some of the Georgia's backs to get a decent yardage on a carry, which I think will impress the NFL scouts as much as his being an offensive weapon. So I thought we saw the entire arsenal of Brock Bowers against Auburn yesterday.
Little
And
H-back power too. We saw
yeah,
that.
we saw it all, and we saw why he's going to be probably the top pick in the NFL draft coming up. So his coming it was a coming out party to me for Brock Bowers as a complete player. I I heard somebody say he's probably one of the better tight ends if you include NFL tight ends.
Yeah,
And I tend to agree with that. So what an outstanding weapon Georgia has, and I think we need to start putting him in the Heisman conversation because to me he should be there.
Yeah, I think you're talking about the best player in the game right there, number 19,
Mm-hmm.
Bulldogs. Guys, I want to move on and talk about probably the game that will be most discussed by a lot of people over the course from this past weekend. And I don't know if you got a chance to watch any of it, but USC and Colorado was an old-fashioned Pac-12, Big 12 shootout galore. 48-41, the Trojans get the win. But what was impressive to me, and I know Marty doesn't like talking about Deion Sanders or the Sanders family, but his son Shador can play football.
Mm-hmm.
He is
It's in the genes.
He's one heck of a good quarterback. He made some throws in the second half that were just like, whoa.
Mm-hmm.
And Colorado may not be on the talent level of USC right now, but man, they gave those guys a game.
I saw it a completely different way. I saw this as SC dominated in the first half, and then the problems of an Alex Grinch defense reared its ugly head.
Yep.
And Colorado found those weaknesses and picked them apart. SC's offense kind of became stagnant in the second half simply because they weren't getting any help from their defense. And so while they fired a lot of weapons in the first half, SC did, a lot of those weapons weren't there in the second half. But again, Caleb Williams, to me right now, he's a defending Heisman Trophy champion. He's done nothing to not put him on top of the pedestal right now. Again, another outstanding game. I think he threw 6 touchdown passes in the game, something along those lines.
403.
So, to me, he was the difference there. And he's done nothing to not repeat as the Heisman Trophy winner. But SC's got to get that defense situated. They escaped Boulder, and they got to do something to shore up the defense because, if SC is the Pac-12 representative in the playoff, if they get a team in the playoff, it's going to be a one and done.
Seriously, the defense, and this was why a lot of folks thought that Colorado was going to at least beat the juice box number, was because of that USC defense. And if Caleb Williams is going to have to continue to be responsible for 6 touchdowns on a weekly basis just so his team can win by 7, that should be a bunch of red flags right there, crimson or whatever color they are, whatever shade they are when it comes to their P&G of red. I mean, it's you look at responsible for 6 touchdowns. You had a 21-point lead heading into the fourth quarter. How many points did you, USC, score in that fourth quarter? 0. 0 points in the fourth quarter. And I think that, we look at things and go, Shedeur Sanders, he threw for 4 and had 1 on the ground. But I think that you look at that defense. You look at the defense for Southern Cal, and then you look at what Charles Kelly and the defense did in the defense coaching staff did in the fourth quarter to slow down Southern Cal. get a couple of stops, draw things in closer. If I'm a fan of USC, I've got a bunch of red flags right now looking at any kind of a chance that you would have to make it into the 4 and get into a championship game.
And another team is very similar to what SC is experiencing at LSU, because Jane Daniels is a fantastic quarterback, and that offense is putting up Madden numbers. I think it was over 700 yards of total offense, or pretty damn close to it. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but the defense couldn't stop you or me, John, and maybe not Phil either. I mean, think about it. I mean, LSU has all that talent, especially on offense, and they got some talent on defense, but they just can't get it together on the defensive end. And the offense has to carry the load and outscore people. And that was too much of a task against Ole Miss last night in Oxford. They had a shot, but to me, USC and LSU are very similar teams.
706 yards allowed by the LSU defense. 389 from Jackson Dart. Jackson Dart throws for 389 and 4. Running game for Ole Miss, another 317. Quinshawn Judkins,
177.
Yeah. So you look at that and you're wondering how a defensive coordinator wasn't Kiffin leaving Oxford and heading back to Baton Rouge. I don't have that answer. I think both of these defensive coordinators probably should have been Kiffin, insert irony here, because I mean, you got 637 net given up by Ole Miss, 706 net given up by LSU. I mean, game of the year.
And only one turnover the entire game.
Yeah. And I mean,
defense was a suggestion, not a...
Well, and I mean, and think about this. This game went so damn long that the primetime game after this game did not get on its assigned channel until the start of the second quarter. And that was Alabama, Mississippi State. That's what was going on with this game. That's how long this damn game took, because no one wanted to stop anybody.
Yeah, it turned out to be more entertaining than Alabama, Mississippi
Damn right, it was more entertaining. It was the smart choice. We're moving Bama and Mississippi State to like channel number 5. Go chase it.
And the Ole Miss student body storming the field after that win.
Fine, why not?
Yeah,
you survived. What the hell? I mean,
write the $15,000 check.
Boom, don't care. It's like you survived. You can catch your breath. You can go hang out with your friends. It was a hell of a win as the number 20 team in the country, knocking off number 13 Storm. What the hell? Who cares?
A couple other nail-biter games I want to bring up while we're talking about that. I don't know if you got a chance to see what happened in the UCF Baylor game.
Yeah.
But going into the fourth quarter, UCF was up 35-10.
Yeah, that's straight up Malzahn for you.
And mind you, neither of these teams are going to be competing for their conference championships, never mind a playoff berth. But Baylor scored 26 unanswered points in the fourth quarter and came back and won.
And helped. They got a defensive touchdown in to boot in that scoreless streak by the Bears. But that was a performance that's really saved Dave Aranda's hide because he was starting to feel some flames on his backside in Waco, and this kind of tampers that down a bit because Baylor's been hurting.
But yeah, that's straight up Malzahn on the slow fade right there. I mean, it's just, okay, hey, we got a big lead. Let's just kind of milk the clock and then not get first downs, and then Baylor scores, and then you had even Baylor's biggest comeback ever, by the way. And then UCF, they had a field goal fall short to try and pull a win out of trying to lose a game. Frankly, UCF did that. Malzahn did that in the fourth quarter. They deserve their fate.
Couple of minor surprise games. Bowling Green comes down to Atlanta and takes out Georgia Tech 38-27.
They got work to do, and that is, you cannot take an opponent for granted. I don't care who you are, and I think that Tech Wilkie might have been reading their press clipping.
You know what? I caught a little bit of that game and then watched a little bit of a replay this morning. It's just reminded me of that Middle Tennessee State game against Georgia Tech. I want to say like 5-6 years ago, where you know Tech just kind of mailed it in and ended up losing the game. And it kind of had that feel to it. And, I think, we're in Atlanta, so we know Georgia Tech pretty well. And yeah, that's a hard place for Tech players to get them into it emotionally, because the majority of the fans there were over 65, and it's just not a rowdy atmosphere. It's one of the best places to play a college football game in the at Bobby Dodd Stadium, in Midtown Atlanta, kind of a city setting. It's unique in college football in that way, but the crowd just doesn't give that emotional boost to Georgia Tech, and when they're flat, they get flattered throughout the game. So there was a lot of comparisons to me to that Middle Tennessee State game. I want to say about 5-6 years ago.
Hey, John.
Moving on.
Yeah, I'm going to move on because I forgot to go through a game that wowed me, and I think a whole lot of people that followed it. Notre Dame and Duke.
Yeah, okay. I'll go to the end, and then that's when I'll comment.
Notre Dame managed to win that game, but it was a nail biter. Duke went into that game undefeated, had game day on campus for the first time in the school's history. Notre Dame hasn't exactly been the picture of brilliance over the last few weeks, but they walk away with a 21-14 win. The downside for this, probably the fact that Duke lost their quarterback, Leonard, who got hurt basically on the very end of the game.
Yeah, tough blow for Duke. And I've never seen an atmosphere Wallace Wade like that in all the years I've been associated with the ACC. That was fantastic. I was so happy for them, and the way the Blue Devils respond. I love the job that Mike Elko has done there. And I love the game plan he had against Notre Dame. Put in this guy, Mike Elko, earned his bones by as a defensive coordinator, and the plan was to put as much pressure on Sam Hartman as they could, and I thought they executed that perfectly. But then again, this is where we saw where Sam Hartman is a special quarterback, because that final drive on that 4th and 17, and he tucked and ran and got the first down, and that's special. And what happened? A couple plays later, Notre Dame gets the touchdown, the go-ahead touchdown to win it, and just completely took the wind out of the sails of Duke, and the air just left Wallace Wade. Now, Notre Dame responded from that loss to Ohio State in a very difficult atmosphere. So you got, now I think a little bit differently of Notre Dame now. They responded to adversity. I want to see what Duke does next week, because it's a program that's never been really in that position before. And now you potentially lose your starting quarterback for a significant amount of time. How does Duke respond? And that's what I'm interested in.
As we are piecing this together, no injury update on Riley Leonard. But to your point, Wilkie, I mean, what we've seen from this program and what Mike Elko has done to turn him around, legitimately, I think you had an entire nation outside of maybe a couple of pockets of supporters that were cheering for Duke in this game. And now you're going to have to dust yourself off and figure out what you're going to do here. Class move by Hartman, by the way, waiting for Riley Leonard to come out from underneath the medical tent after the game was over, and came out on crutches. We don't know anything else right now, but it's going to be a big test for Duke, because obviously I'm thinking if you're coming out of the medical tent on crutches on the last play of the game, you're not playing next time out. So it'll be an interesting test and an adjustment for Duke, and figure out what they're going to do in the coming weeks.
Guys, what do you say we take it here to halftime? We've covered pretty much We've covered pretty much most of the big games of the week. When we come back in the second half of the show, we're going to preview what's coming up in the following week. And John, what do you got coming up with Marty?
Football on a budget. And if you are interested in perhaps getting some frequent flyer miles, staying in a decent hotel, but seeing a game on the cheap, we've got a budget set, and we go through all of those games next week and ask if you would want to attend that game for less than $10. That's coming up with Marty and me in the second segment. Looking forward to it.
All that and more when we return for the second half of the review. This is the review on the OSG Sports Podcasting Network. Please like and subscribe.
Over here in the OSG Sports side of things, we talk football. Football. College football version here with the college football review every single week. But for those of you that like not just football with two O's, but football with a U, Futbol, there's the Soccer Down Here Network. I'm John Nelson. I host the morning show on Soccer Down Here along with Jarrett Smith, Nick Alifi, Jason Longshore. And if you're looking for the best information when it comes to the world of soccer, based in the southeastern United States, but we don't leave anything off the table. 9:05 Eastern time until 11 whenever. Sometimes we go for a while. SDH Network morning show, soccer's morning show, Monday through Friday, plus all the live events we do. It is your place and your source for soccer that is based in the Southeast, but covers everything on the world. SoccerDownHere.net, the Soccer Down Here app, available iOS and Android through our friends at Spreaker. That's like speaker with an R in the middle. Spreaker, do a search for OSG Sports, do a search for Soccer Down Here. All the soccer content all in one place. It is the SDH Network and Soccer Down Here.
Thanks for sticking around, everybody. You have made it to the second half of the show.
Made it!
You made it.
Survived. We're going to talk a little bit about what's coming up in the coming weekend because we're getting into the heart of the season. Everybody's getting much, much closer to the halfway point. And some interesting games on tap. And we got to start at the top. It's one of Wilkie's favorite games of the year every year. The Red River Rivalry, Oklahoma and Texas. Guys, Texas is apparently back for real this time after 24 false starts. But Oklahoma's looking better and better every week.
Texas is a 5.5 as we're talking get-in price at 300 bones.
Yeah, and both offenses are explosive.
Both offenses are exploded.
Yeah, they've exploded and they're explosive.
Careful now.
Yeah, you're venturing into dangerous territory.
The defenses, though, especially for Oklahoma, Oklahoma's defenses really played well. And I think Texas has done a good job as well. So you've got both sides of the ball playing at a high level. Yes, this is my top rivalry, the Red River Shootout. And it's hard for me to pick a winner in this one because they're both playing so well. And I really think both programs want to showcase this game one last time before it becomes an SEC rivalry and kind of gets, it might get a little diluted with all the great rivalries within the SEC with the cocktail party and third Saturday in October. Now you add the Red River Shootout into the portfolio. So if I got to pick, I always go with Oklahoma because I just don't like the color of burnt orange. I got family members that are Sooners, So I'm gonna go with the Sooners in this game, but I think it's going to be one of those type of games that's a 3-point win. And it's going to come down to one last drive, and it might be in the 30s or 40s. I long for the days where Darrell Royal and Barry Switzer wouldn't talk to each other, or Switzer's at chasing a referee. I kind of miss those days of the Red River Shootout.
Texas wins, Oklahoma covers, take the total. Take the over.
Yeah, that should be an interesting game. I like Texas in this one because I just like saying Texas is back.
Texas is back.
The other game that jumps off the board to me, and I know ordinarily it wouldn't be the flashiest game on the board, despite
Nebraska and Illinois.
No, despite the fact that it features number one team in America, according to the Associated Press. Kentucky, undefeated, makes the trip into Athens to play Georgia primetime on ESPN.
No,
As impressive as Kentucky looked against Florida,
it was Florida.
It was Florida.
Yeah,
Kentucky has got some talent. I like what Mark Stoops is doing there, has done there for years. And they're going to give Georgia their best game, but Georgia's still going to win it, and they'll probably win it by a couple of touchdowns because the talent level and the depth is just that much better.
Georgia's 15. Your get-in price is 145. I'll say Georgia covers.
Yeah, I think it's a safe play there, but I find it interesting. I think it's going to be a low-scoring game, but look for Georgia to pull this one out. I don't think they haven't played any game that hasn't been close. I don't think this is going to be any different. Another ranked game matchup that I find fascinating is Alabama making the trip to College Station to take on
the quitter.
Your favorite Don.
Quitter. The quitter. Say it. The quitter. Say
the quitter
it.
And the cheater.
But a team that has shown at least a little bit of a spark of life over the last couple of weeks, Texas A&M. This is a dangerous game for Alabama, and a game arguably that they kind of need to win.
Can we root against both? Can we root for mutually assured destruction in like 98 overtimes? Max Johnson from Coney County High School, drink. He has proven that in this offense, he is the better quarterback than Connor Wigman. We don't know what the current injury update length of time is with Wigman and the injury, but Max Johnson has proven to be a hell of a passer in this offense. And so Alabama's a 3.5, which basically means the juice box purveyors think it's a push. Get-in price at Kyle Field is 161. I think I'm rooting for mutually assured destruction. There you go. I'm not picking a winner. I want them both to lose. Max
Johnson is the perfect fit for this offense. He does so many good things. Throws a nice deep ball. Has command of that offense. And but what impressed me against Arkansas was that front four of Texas A&M's. DJ Durkin has done a great job of having an attacking defense, and the way it attacked Arkansas's offensive line, and KJ Jefferson was bottled up the whole time. They figured out Rocket Sanders as well. That impressed me. I just think this is going to be an old-fashioned SEC slobber knocker, because both sides of the line are fundamentally sound. And I think this game comes down to big plays. And I think that's kind of where Alabama may have the edge. And I'm not just talking about big plays on offense. I'm talking about big plays on defense too. That to me is where kind of Alabama has the edge. But I got to go with the Aggies in this one simply because it's in College Station. The best atmosphere I've ever been to a college football game. It's going to be rocking. The yell leaders are going to be at peak performance, and I know you're going to hate it, John, but I really think A&M gets it done, and they get it done by maybe a field goal.
This is my yell leader impression, by the way.
Yell.
Well, you need a bad white shirt and a crew cut.
Both of those are not happening. I'm still rooting for mutually assured destruction. and reserving comment on DJ Durkin as well. Continue.
Here's an interesting matchup for you guys. In Louisville, a team that I don't think anybody thought would be off to a good start, but yet here we are. After Notre Dame barely survives Duke, they've got to venture into Louisville to play the Cardinals.
Notre Dame is a touchdown favorite. Get-in price at Cardinal Stadium is $91. Is 5-1 visits 5-0.
Yeah, I've seen Louisville play a couple of times. I don't know if they're if the talent level is there to compete with Notre Dame, but I give them a puncher's chance because it is in Louisville and they do have some momentum going. I really like the job Jeff Brom's done there. He's returned home, and even with going through the transfer portal, getting some players off of that fit into his system. I really think that's a team that's made the most drastic improvement. But I still, Sam Hartman is just a special quarterback, and I like Notre Dame in this one.
Your quarterback, Sam Hartman.
Sam Hartman. What?
Sam Hartman, who started quarterbacking in 2010.
Yeah, really?
Yeah.
4,000 years old.
Yeah.
That guy. Wilkie, your Arkansas Razorbacks travel to Ole Miss, who can't possibly not be a little bit let down after that emotional win over LSU. What are your thoughts?
Ole Miss by a couple of touchdowns. Arkansas is just not playing inspired football right now. Too many mistakes, too many false starts. KJ Jefferson just seems to be bottled up in that offense. It's not really to his strength. I think a big boost to having Rocket Sanders back, and he had a good game against Texas A&M. But again, defense is optional sometimes with Ole Miss. But since the Rebels are home, I like them.
10-point favorite get-in price at Vaught Hemingway is $64.
Any games that stick out to you guys before we go to our special segment?
I'll give you
two.
One. Okay, go for it, Wilkie.
I got two teams that I think are better than we think they are. First of all, Ohio State hosting Maryland. Talia Tagovailoa for Maryland is quietly having a great year for the Terps. They're undefeated right now, and perhaps there'll be some Heisman talk with Tagovailoa. But going into the horseshoe and taking on Ohio State is going to be a huge test for Maryland. I think they're better than people think they are. A couple of games I've seen them play. I don't think they'll get the win here, but they're going to scare the what out of Marty and the rest
Ever
of the
loving
Buckeye.
Jesus. You can
Yes, that too. Out of Buckeye fans and Marty included. But I think that's going to be a fun game to watch. I love the fact that Maryland has reverted back to the Bobby Ross era uniforms. I think that's stout. And Missouri hosting LSU in Columbia. Guys, every time I keep watching Mizzou, I'm more and more impressed with what Eli Drinkwitz is doing there. They probably don't have the best talent in the SEC, but what they have, they're getting max effort out of those players, and it's resulted in a great start for the Tigers. And what a signature win for Drinkwitz in his short time there in Columbia to get a win over LSU, and I think they will. I really like Missouri, and I really like Missouri to perhaps challenge in the East if they get this win, because that'd be a big hump to get over, and that would be a great confidence boost for that program. And I think Columbia is going to be rocking in this game. And with the way LSU's defense has been performing, I can see Mizzou winning this game and tearing down the goalposts.
All right, so you got two noon kicks. Get-in price at the Horseshoe is $60. OSU is favored by 18. And LSU and Missouri at Faurot Field, get-in price $80. LSU is 6.5. I'll give you one before we toss to tape. And it's one out west, and I think it's a sneaky one that might be flying below a lot of folks' viewfinders here. 8 o'clock, and it might be that they've still got to figure it out, but it might be a little West Coast football with Timmy B and Spencer. Fresno State at number 24 is 5-0, going to Laramie to take on Wyoming, who's 4-1. Both teams 1-0 in the Mountain West. Fresno's a 5. Get-in price at Jonah Field at War Memorial is $17. So if you're, anywhere near, you want to go see a game in a real cool environment. 24 Fresno State at Wyoming, 8 o'clock kick. Fresno's a 5, and I'll take Fresno on that one, but I don't think it'll be 5. So I would say that Wyoming covers, Fresno gets the win. That's my one.
We might want to gas up the OSG corporate jet and head to Laramie.
That'd be pretty sweet.
No, that game is on my radar screen too, because I love the race between Fresno State and Air Force in the Mountain West. I think that is your race for a group of 5 team to getting into the New Year's Six. It's really between those two teams.
Yeah, I'm game if you guys are here. It's really nice up in that part of the world this time of the year.
Lost the tape.
Before we wrap things up here on this show, guys, I want to toss it over to one of the better segments that we've come up with here over the last couple of years of doing this podcast, and that's college football on a budget. John and Marty will talk to you about the best ways to find a good college football game for $10 or less.
Thanks, Phil. It's nice to get thrown to instead of having to be thrown at. Or how does that go?
Yeah, no, I think
I don't know.
I think you got it.
We got it. I think I never get to do that, so I'm a bit rusty.
Hey, it's all good. You hit your mark. That's all that mattered.
We were taking care of some things here at the headquarters. Got a little bit of state fair in.
See now, all right.
Got a lot of state fair. Got not a lot of rest. Got a state fair. Got some football in. Got to see some pig suey. Still got my wristband from the club.
There you go. When it comes to the state fair, before we get into football on a budget, how many times have you been, and how much fried food have you had?
Oh my God. Every year I've lived here, I've gone, I think.
Okay.
For this year, I've only gone once.
Okay.
So we had one family visitor. We have a second family visitor coming in a week and a half. And then my wife and I will go once more, just so we get to do what we'd like to do instead of what we have to do.
There you go. So what's the weirdest fried food that you've eaten?
This trip, I would have to say.
I like in history. I mean, like in the history.
fried butter or fried beer. Fried butter was actually good. It kind of tasted like a beignet.
Okay.
But the fried beer was awful. It must have been something that we used to buy in college, like Natty Light. It was terrible.
Old Mill's best.
If you don't know how they fry beer, they freeze it, drop it in flour, and then quick fry it.
Okay. Thank you for that, because I was trying to figure out.
Yes, my station did a story on it, and then I got to try it after because of that, and I wish I didn't get to. It was terrible.
God. Well, God bless. It's the 15th anniversary of that, by the way. That speech from this weekend from Tim Tebow.
Shoot.
15 years ago. Yeah, that happened this past weekend. So the reason that we're here every single week is we do the traversing of the planet. Marty has the cup with the Jim Tressel vest.
The vest.
And so what we do is we want to give you the opportunity to go visit a place maybe that you hadn't thought about visiting before.
And the opposite of this, it's this.
Yes.
Saving money.
You are saving money. It is coming back. It is coming back into the wallet. And so what we do is every single $9 or less, we look around and we wonder whether or not we should go to these games that are $9 or less for your get-in price on the secondary market. Might be less if you know somebody there on campus. But right now, if you go through things electronically, $9 or less, football on a budget. We got a handful of games this week. And we did have a 10 that was in there somewhere. And it actually starts on Friday night. And I'm looking at this matchup and I'm going, oh my God, there's no way in hell I would go see this, even if it was $9. Nebraska at Illinois in Champaign at Memorial Stadium. So it is Nebraska and Illinois, 8 o'clock Eastern time on a FS1, $9.
It is right at the $9. And there's not that many games that are $9. I mean, there's a $10 one
Yeah, see, yeah, we
on
might have
Wednesday, but that's above that's too rich for our
That is-
lifestyle.
absolutely it is. Jack State, Middle Tennessee. That's $10 at Red Floyd and Murfreesboro. So
You know what? I'm gonna say yes to the NI game just because there's a chance you could see somebody get fired.
okay, all right. So I see that you've added plot to the price tag.
Yes, because the current writer strike has been a significant drop and be able to watch drama outside of reality TV. So, what's more real than football?
Absolutely. Saturday, noon Eastern time, Davis Wade Stadium on the campus of Mississippi State University in the bustling metropolis of Starkville. I'm guessing this is homecoming for Mississippi State because Western Michigan is coming to town on SEC Network. Western Michigan at Mississippi State, get-in price, $2.
More cowbell. Give me more cowbell.
So would this be one of those situations where, like we were discussing with Tulane, where they were at $2 and you're like, I'm going to buy 5 seats and just kind of.
Yes, I'm buying my row.
Okay. Buying the row.
I wish for the game I would have bought the row in front of me because apparently some people don't know that if the person in front of you isn't standing, you shouldn't stand.
Correct.
Get off my lawn.
Exactly right. So $2. So Marty
And
he's in on that one. And I'm guessing that this is also homecoming at 3 o'clock Eastern time on the B1G network.
ooh,
In suburban Chicago, once again at Ryan Field, Howard and Northwestern, tickets as low as $4.
oh, those are gonna be $2 at game time. I'm
Okay.
gonna buy and get some deep dish pizza. And like half the reason I'm gonna buy is just because I've never seen Howard.
Okay, yeah, and I think both of the teams are actually 2-2, so I think that
Two and two for Howard, 2-3 for Northwestern. Northwestern was given a bit of a game this weekend, and then they came back down to reality.
yes, exactly. $9 at 3:30 on the plus, and it's Maction. Northern Illinois at Akron at Infocision Stadium. Well, they ain't paying us, so I thought it was the Rubber Bowl for the longest time.
The Rubber Bowl is closed, and I believe it may be demolished now.
Ooh. So at the on-campus stadium in Akron, Ohio, $9, 3:30, Northern Illinois and Akron.
I'm going just to boo Akron. They
They
won't let Youngstown State get in the MAC.
okay.
We whip on them. We curse the Rubber Bowl for them.
Okay.
Go Salukis.
Okay. And admittedly, once again, there are a couple of games after 3:30 and at 3:30 that are above our price tag. They do exist. We are not. We could condone that behavior if you're feeling kind of rich. You know, if you want to go to the $11 game, you can. The $13 game, you can. That is not what we are looking out for you and your wallet.
Okay. There's one $11 game I do want to throw out there.
Okay. Wild card, take it.
Sneaky good. Sun Belt. The Fun Belt, the relegation division for the SEC in our future. Arkansas State and Troy.
Yeah,
$11.
It is
Both 3-2. And the 2 losses they have are to teams that they got paid to lose to. So I think that'd be a fun matchup to watch.
okay. And we have been to Veterans Memorial Stadium in Troy, Alabama. So if you want to
Good tailgating. Good
wanna
tailgating.
want to venture outside the $9, then 11. And this stadium, when it was built, its title sponsor was from a business that no longer exists. Competition from Blockbuster. Movie Gallery Stadium on the campus of Troy University. Movie Gallery used to be, and they also, for 1 year, I want to say, had the Blue-Gray game there at Movie Gallery. So,
Goodness.
Yeah, the All-Star game there, but yes, it is now Veterans Memorial Stadium, Troy, Alabama. So if you want to venture outside your $9 or more, that is a sneaky good game in the Fun Belt. I will grant you that one. Before we send it back for the remainder of the show and tease how folks can watch all this stuff.
There is one more thing, though.
Oh,
I saw on the interwebs that beer for Rice students was $3.
oh,
And this got posted a bunch of times, kept popping up in my can I still call it Twitter? Since I'm
Sure.
an old man, I have a gray beard. I'm
280
gonna call it Twitter. I
app.
kept seeing student beer $3. So even though the tickets are $19 for Yukon and Rice,
Okay.
Rice beer is $1 per win.
Thinking three-dimensionally here. Okay, I see where you're
So
going.
what you're gonna lose
No, wait,
on your
not-
ticket, you're gonna
it's-
gain on not buying a $10 beer.
Okay, so thank you for clarifying, because you said Rice beer, but you mean beer at Rice.
Rice, yes.
Okay, because I was thinking
I am a Sapporo fan, yes, but I doubt you're
Sapporo-
gonna get Sapporo for $3 a draft.
right, and so that's where thank you for clarifying with the modifiers.
It sounds like I was already doing it.
I was slightly concerned, but that's what we're hunting for. What else is on your mind from this week that has passed as we head into the week that will be before we send it back to the studio?
Ooh. Looking forward to Texas OU. That's why I got the State Fair hat on. I don't really have a dog in that fight, but it's always a good battle. Arkansas and A&M was a good experience. Brought somebody in from outside the country to see that game, and she quite enjoyed it. The local traditions that every team has, which is what this whole segment is about, is going, learning new things, seeing how things go. It's very impressive. Go Buckeyes.
What a shock!
I just had to throw that in there.
Well, I mean, and they've got Maryland this week. We talked about that one earlier in the B block.
Yeah, I'm nervous about that game. I'm a bit nervous about that game. Maryland's sneaky good this year. Don't want one of those creeping up on you like it's been biting everybody else. I'm hoping we're not getting a play with your food situation in there. I think that that Notre Dame win kind of galvanized and really, I think that quarterback matured half a season in that last drive.
Wow. Okay. Nicely done. That's always football on a budget. What we always want to do. Once again, $9 or less. We want to make sure that folks enjoy their experience, widen their horizons when it comes to college football and what you can see during the week. And Marty is adding context and adding plot lines and making things in 3 dimensions.
Yeah, we only had four games that were eligible, so we had to do something to stretch the segment out.
No, and that's just pretty solid. I mean, you're thinking far faster than I am.
Leave it.
Yeah, you are. Send it back to the guys.
All right, Phil. I get to throw it back to you for once.
I love hearing you guys talk about the $3 games and the scary.
I want my $2. You could have done that last week. You could have done that last week at Yulman Stadium in New Orleans. $2 to get to see Tulane. But no, it's a fun thing that we kind of stumbled over, and what we always like to say is support your local programs. And it doesn't have to be the big Division I school. It can be an FCS. It can be a 1AA, to date myself. It can be a D2, a D3, and an AIA. Support your local programs, and when you have opportunities to see something a little below the radar that might not be on the beaten track, but it's also economical, go chase it. You'll get a fun time.
It's a great time of year to be outside and a great time of year to go spend 3 hours at a football stadium with a few thousand of your friends.
Yeah, you guys are inside. I'm outside. I guess I got the better end of the deal, huh?
I was outside on all day Saturday, so I have to recover by not going outside.
I was
Gotcha.
outside all week in New Mexico on vacation, so I'm going to take that excuse to being inside that, plus my computer power cable won't let me be outside. Guys, I'm going to wrap up the show here. For those of you at home, thank you for tuning in and listening in, watching, whatever your choice may be for entertainment value. We do appreciate it. You can always find us on the Facebook at OSG Sports. Same thing on the X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it.
280 character app.
That's about as far as our social media goes, except for the YouTube, where you can again find us at OSG Sports/soccer down here. For OSG Nelson and OSG Wilkie, I am OSG Phil, and for Brother Marty as well. Sorry, I almost forgot about you on tape. We are the Online Sports Guys. Thank you for tuning in. Everybody have a great college football week. We will do this again all over next week. Until then, bye-bye.
Please like and subscribe.